Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This video is the starting point for a series about shared element transition in React Native. I was inspired by Ahmed. He created this beautiful shared element transition plus a two-way binding type of slider. And I'll show you my way of doing it in React Native by using the React Navigation v5, React Navigation shared element, and animated API. This is going to be a long tutorial, but is the groundwork for the upcoming videos which I've prepared for you. I'll show you how to get started with React shared element transition in React Navigation v5 and how to create this type of animation using the reactive type of animation, which I already walk you through, plus multiple types of tips and tricks here and there. Before jumping into VS Code, I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel, especially to Design to Code, Kiselev Nikita, Karaf, Aman, and Violina for becoming Patreons and supporting me on a monthly basis. And a special thanks to Violina because she took the one-on-one tire, like the private help, and I was able to help her out with some issues that she encountered during React Native app development. So thank you once again for supporting me. It means a lot to me. I also created a Discord server. If you'd like to join it, the link to it is also in the description of this video. And now, without further ado, let's jump into VS Code and start building the shared element transition and the groundwork for the upcoming videos. Alrighty, so we are in VS Code here and I've created a project using Expo, and I also built a couple of screens, components, and whatsoever. So let me walk you through what we have so far before jumping into the navigation system. So we have an icon here that's basically a view, wrapping an image, and I'm passing the URI as a property, and it's going to apply some styles. We also have a back icon that we'll use for the navigation system that's using the ant design and with the arrow left, and apply some styles again. We also have a marketing slider, and if I'm going to the application here and render the list component, this is the marketing slider, right? I have some data here inside the config, and I have 4 different slides. Each slide will contain a title and a color, and I'm rendering a flat list, and I'm making it horizontal. I'm snapping to a particular interval and applying some different styles. So this is the slider. And the screens, I have 2 different screens. One is the list screen and one is the detail screen. And for the list screen, I'm rendering this marketing slider plus a list of different icons. And the icons, I grabbed them from the travel config here. So I have an image, URI, a title, and an ID. And the icons are grabbed from the flat icon. The link is here, but you can also find it in the description of this video. So I'm rendering a view that's having a flex direction of row, and I'm wrapping the items. And in this way, I'm creating this kind of list with different columns. And inside it, I'm wrapping the icon into a touchable opacity, so you can press on it. After integrating the navigation, we'll also go to the detail screen. And in the detail screen, if I'm rendering the detail, so detail, this is the detail. I have here a flat list. So first of all, it's the back icon rendered. Then I have a view that contains the same list of icons here. right? With a touchable opacity attached to it, and each one will do something on press. And below I have a flat list. For each item I'm rendering a dummy scroll view with a fill of special text based on the selected item, and I'm also grabbing the selected item from the data. So this is what we have so far. And for the navigation system, in order to make this shared element transition work, we will use a couple of packages here. So we will need the React Navigation Shared Element package and React Navigation v5. And in order to make this shared element transition work in order to make this package work for React Navigation v5, we need to go to the repository, and there is a branch called navigation-v5. Again, by the time I'm recording this tutorial, React Navigation v5 is still in development and is not fully ready for you to play around. But I thought that I'll give it a try and see how we are gonna create multiple types of transitions using it, right? And here it says that we need to install a couple of dependencies. So in order we need to get the latest React Navigation Shared Element and React Native Shared Element. So let me open up here the terminal and copy this this line here. And for the navigation system, we need to install some fixed dependencies. So for React Navigation Native, we need 509 and React Navigation Stack 511. So let me copy those dependencies here, paste them. And while this is installing, let's go ahead to the React Navigation documentation side, and we also need to install extra dependencies. And since I'm using Expo, in the Getting Started page, there is dependencies for Expo managed project. So we need React Native gesture handler, reanimated screens, and safe area view. And now if I paste those dependencies, let's install them. And the first thing to make this work, let's go to the application, and instead of rendering the details here, do the following. So we just need to install a dummy view here. Okay, and we will need to grab a couple of properties. So now that we have all the packages installed, right? And we'll need from React Native screens, we'll need the enable screens. We'll also need from React Navigation Shared, we'll need a create shared stack element, and we also need from the native, we need the navigation container. So we'll need the navigation container from React Navigation Native, create shared element stack navigator from React Navigation Shared Element, and enable screens. So let's enable screens and also create the stack. And in order to create this shared element transition, it comes with its own stack navigation. And we can create the stack by calling the create shared element stack navigator. And inside this view, we need to first wrap everything into a navigation container. And inside, we'll have from the stack, we'll have the navigator. So instead of using the stack navigator from React Navigation v5, we'll use the navigator that comes from the shared element navigation. And down below inside, we'll create multiple screens. So we'll have a screen for the list with component, the component that I've showed you earlier, so the list component, and we also have details, detail with detail component, right? And now if I hit refresh, you see, because this is the first screen, is going to also be the initial one, but we can specify the initial right here. And first thing that I would like to do is remove the header. We don't need it for our example, so header mode is going to be none. So far everything's looking pretty nice. We have a navigation system in place, and now if I'm going to the list, in order to, so now because I've wrapped everything, all the screens into this navigator system, they will receive the navigation as a property. And here inside the list, I have the navigation as a property, as a prop. And whenever the user will press on this button, I would like to go to the details screen. So here on press, I'll say navigation push. Then I'll specify the name of the screen and then the item. So this is the param that I would like to send to the route, and this is the screen name. So if I hit save now, whenever I'm pressing on a button, it's going to go to the details. And let's do the same for the back. So inside the details screen for the back, I will need to grab the navigation, and navigation go back whenever the back icon is pressed. So now it should go back as well. And for the shared element transition, in order to work, we will need to wrap whatever element we would like to move from a screen to another into a shared element, pass a unique ID in both screens, in the first or the initial screen and also on the next screen. And in order to do that, we need to first import the shared element. So in my case, I would like to transition this icon from the list screen to the detail screen. So let's wrap this into a shared element. So shared element. Shared element is coming from the React Navigation shared element. So if I grab this and wrap, we need to specify an ID, and this is really important because this ID should be unique. And in my case, I would like to have an item.id, and then icon. So this is going to be the, for each particular item, this is going to be the unique shared element ID. And now if I hit save and refresh, nothing has changed because the next screen is not aware of this shared element. So if I copy this guy here and inside the shared element wrap the same icon with a shared element and import shared element, now we have access to this ID. But during the transition, we also need to inform the navigator, hey, this is the ID that you should be aware of, and you should perform the transition from the initial screen to the next screen. And to do that, if we go to the GitHub repository, down below there is a static. You can do in two different ways. You can either in where you specify the stack screen, you can create here a SharedElementConfig and return either a list of unique IDs or a collection of IDs. So in this case, this is a list of unique IDs, basically the shared element ID, or you can specify a collection. If you have multiple elements that you like to transition, you can also specify in this format with an object where you'll have an ID, an animation type, a resize and a line, but you can also specify a list of IDs, unique IDs, and React Native shared element will perform the transition using the default properties. And this shared elements config can be specified into a stack screen, or you can specify as a static property. And I'll be using the static property. So let me grab this static property and go to the component. And here I have the detail component, and down below I'm exporting it. And before exporting, I can create this shared elements as a static config here. So shared elements is it's attached now to the details component, and now the navigator will be aware what things to move from a screen to another, or what is going to be mapped between the screens, right? And in my case, I don't need the route params because I would like to map all the items from the previous screen to the next screen. So in my case, I'll return data, I'll map through the data, I'll get the item and return here the item.id and then icon. So grab all the data, so this data, right? Get the ID and make the list with all the IDs. And details is not defined, okay, and also comment it out. So now if I hit refresh, this navigation will be aware of all the IDs that I would like to transition from a screen to another, and based on the next position it's going to animate. And this is working so far, but it's really fast and we cannot do anything. And also you'll notice that we have this push navigation system, which we don't want in our case. So in order to fix this, let's go to the application, and for the detail screen we would like to change the options for the screen. So options is a method that's required to return a set of configs, which is an object, right? And we would like to first, so options, we would like to first disable the gestures. So we don't want to have any gestures enabled. Then we would like to create a different interpolator. So the card interpolator right now, if you'll see, it's like it's a transition interpolator, and we would like to create a fade in out. So we will place the opacity based on the progress of the navigation. And in order to do that, we can specify here a cardStyleInterpolator, and this cardStyleInterpolator will return card style, and here we'll play with opacity. And to get the progress of the navigation, here the cardStyleInterpolator will receive the progress as an argument. So from the current, we'll get the progress. And this progress is already an animated value, so we can directly apply the progress to the cardStyleInterpolator. And now if I hit refresh, you'll notice that the screen will fade in and fade out, which is more like the expected behavior for a shared element transition in general. And here we can also play with the transitionSpec. So transitionSpec, it's saying for the open and the close of the navigation, what type of animation should perform. So we will have an open here, and inside the open we'll have an animation of either spring or timing. I'll be using the timing, and you can also specify a config, and the config can have a duration, delay, whatever the animated timing property accepts from React Native, and I'll have a duration of 1000 just to make things clear. and apply the same for the close animation as well. Now if I hit refresh, you'll notice that it's going to take 1 second to move from a screen to another the items. So the React Native shared element transition, it's aware of the transition spec that we are passing to the React navigation, and is going to perform that transition based on whatever we specified as animation. Okay, so now that we've created this whole navigation system, right, I would like to go to the details and start working on the slider itself, plus doing some little animations. What we are going to do is 2 different things. So once this flat list has a different selected slide, I would like to animate the list from above, and also vice versa. So if you press on an item, I would like to scroll to that particular slide and make it enabled, right? So now, because we received this this item from this list, I received the item. We can now grab the active item from the route. So we'll take here the route, and we'll get the item from route params. Now if I hit save and go to this item, you'll notice that the initial selected it's bikini, because this is the name of the item. If I'm going to the second one, it's to the third one, also the banana. So everything is working as expected. Now what I would like to do is to first create this reactive type of animation in order to change the position of this view, but also mounted animation. So I would like to show this list whenever the transition has finished. And let's start by creating here a couple of animations. And I'll say mounted animation, animated, it's mounted animated, it's React, use ref new animated value. We are starting from 0, get the current. All right, we are also going to have an active index, which is equal to the selected item index here, and we will also have an animated index, which is also starting from this. The reason for that is because we will change the active index and make the animated index reactive. If you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, a link to the reactive type of animations will appear here. I've already walked you through, I think there are 3 or 4 videos now explaining how a reactive type of animation works in React Native. So please follow up the link if you would like to see how this is actually working. And for now, when I'll be using the useFX, so whenever the component will be mounted, so when the component will mount, I would like to first listen to the active index changes. So I'll have 2 different animations. So I'll have animated parallel. So let me import animated here. It wasn't, we don't need animated from reanimated, but instead from animated React Native. And we'll have a parallel. And here we will do the animated timing, and we will animate the animated index, and we'll go to value the active index with a duration of, let's say, 300, and we'll use the native driver for it. So this is the basically whenever we are going to modify this scroll, we will set the active index, and the we will set the active index, and because this is reactive, animated index will be animated. So I think the timing, the naming, it's not good, so I'll say active index animation, let's say, right? And also I would like to start the mounting. So I'll do here an animation. I'll specify a toValue, and here I'll return an animated timing, and I'll animate the mounted animation. I'll go to value, a duration of, let's say, 500, a delay of a delay that I can specify as a param, and I'll also use the native driver for it. And the reason for that is passing a delay, I would like to initially wait until the whole navigation transition finished, and that's why I'm passing the delay. So here in the parallel, I would like to call the animation method, apply a value to 1, and I'll wait, let's say, 1000, because for now this is the transition timing for the navigation, and also start. So now we have this animation, and to make it visible, let's create here, let's make this flat list an animated flat list, and we can start by animating the opacity. So the style of the animation will apply an opacity of mounted animated. So initially it's going to be 0, and then it's going to be 1. So let's see. Now it should start the animation, right? And I will also like to transition on y-axis. And if I apply here a transform of translate y and create the translate y, so const translate y, it's equal to, we will interpolate the mounting animation, specify an input range of 0 and 1, and an output range of, when it's 0 is not visible, I would like to make it, let's say, 50 pixels and then 0. Now if I hit refresh, it should start from bottom, just a slightly animation value. And this is how you actually can animate the components after the transition has finished. And you can also specify, you can also remove the items and then go back. And in order to do that, because we have here an animation method, we can go here where we have the back icon. So on press, if you'd like to wait for the animation, we can call animation, pass the 0, there is no delay, and start the animation. And when this animation is finished, we can go back. So this we basically call this method, right? So now if I hit refresh, go to the screen and go back, it's going to animate, and whenever this is finished, apply the navigation go back. So now I can also play around with the timing, and I think it's faster, right? So the duration of the animation, let's wait 500 here. All right. And let me apply a different easing method to this. So we'll have easing, it's easing, I'll start importing easing from React Native, and I'll have easing in out by easing ease. This is just applying a different type of easing function. So this is more like it's faster in and out, right? Now let's do the animation of the items based on the active scroll. So how we are doing this? We first watch for the changes inside this scrollable list, and we'll do on momentum scroll end. We'll get here the event, and based on the position of the content offset X, we know the active index and set the active index with the value, right? So we'll say new index, it's equal to event, native event, content offset, and the X. And we'll do here a math floor divided by the width of the screen. So in this way, because we know each slide is going to be the screen width, we can divide it and get the active index. And here we will do active index. We will set the value with the new index. And now to animate this icon, this item, we need to first make the entire animation, the entire view an animated view. The problem now which I see now is that it's not starting from the middle. So in order to make that happen, we can apply a different margin left of width divided by 2, so half of the screen. But then we also need to subtract half of the item plus the spacing. So minus icon size divided by 2 minus spacing. So this will start from the middle of the screen. And now, in order to animate it, we can apply here translate X, it's equal to how it is. So it's the active animation. We'll interpolate it. We'll have an input range of -1, 0, and 1, because we know that we will increment or decrement by 1. So this is the index. And for the output range, we would like to move it with the icon size plus spacing, right? So we will have here, let me create a size, which is icon size plus spacing. And first we would like to move it with size, so we will go to the left, 0, and then minus size. So for the next item, current item, and previous item. And apply this translate X to the navigation, to this view. So we will do transform, translate X, and then the active slide, right? And now if it should work if whenever I'm moving the item, this is positioned properly, and I see that we're not transitioning correctly because we forgot to multiply the item size with 2, the spacing. And if I go to the to this item, to the tropical bar, is going to be automatically scrolled because of the active index modification in the first place. And then whenever I'm moving the item, it should also animate. And now I would also like to make here a small adjustment and apply a special text of item.title and a style of font size 10 pixels, so we have this visible, and also align the items to the center. Okay, so we have turtle, we have swimming pool, and I will also like to apply a different opacity based on the active slide, right? So here inside the item, I can say instead of returning directly the item based on the index, I would like to apply a different opacity. So I will get the item and the index, And I'll create here an input range, which is index -1 multiplied with the size, index, and then index +1 multiplied with the size. And I'll get the opacity. So opacity, we will interpolate the animation, the active index animation. We will interpolate it past the input range. And for the output range, we will like to have it, let's say, 0.5, 1, and 0.5. And we have here like this. All right. And also apply here. And I did here a mistake because I forgot that we are actually incrementing and decrementing with index. It should be index. It should be without the multiplied with the size. And now the item, everything is transparent, so only the active item is visible. And now let's do the vice versa. So whenever you press on this item, it should scroll to this particular index and also make it active. So if I go here where we render the item, here we will do the set active with the index, right? So whenever we press, we move. But now we also need to change the index of the flat list. So in order to do that, we have the reference of the flat list, and we can scroll to index. Specify the index and animate it is true. Hit save. Now if I go to the turtle, you'll see this is animated. Go to swimming pool and so on, and also vice versa. This is working both ways. And the reason why this scrollToIndex is actually working is because here inside the flat list, I have a get item layout. So in order to have scrollToIndex working, you need to specify a get item layout where you'll have for each item an width, an offset, and a length, right? And you can also specify an initial scroll index. And now if I go back, this is animated. This is animated. And if I select, for example, turtle, it's going to make this active, right? And then also scroll into the place. That was it. It was a pretty long video, but is the groundwork for the upcoming videos that I've prepared for you around shared element transition. Hopefully you learned how to create this type of animation using the React Navigation v5 and how to create this two-way binding slider animation in React Native by using only the animated API plus the reactive type of animation. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like it and share it with your friends on social media. And also don't forget to join the Discord community, which I've created. The link to it is down in the description. So enjoy it and see you next time. Bye.